Hello, welcome to Walk in the Park. I'm Tony Ingram, your host, and this is episode number 23, recorded on October 3rd, 2012. And if you want to see all of our half-hour shows that are recorded every week, you can go to my blog at, it's called Walk in the Park, at ithacafingerlakes.com, ithacafingerlakes.com, and you can see all of our episodes. Okay, so just go over some of the things we're going to do today. We're going to go to several different parks and events in parks. Look at my little list here. The first thing we're going to do is go to Robert H. Truman State Park for Heritage Day, which I told people about last week. But there was a lot going on, and including an archaeological dig that we'll visit. And then we'll go over to Buttermilk Falls State Park and take a look at some of the fall wildflowers that are out. And then down to Dewitt Park in Ithaca, talk a little bit about what goes on there normally, and also the first People's Festival that was there last weekend. And then finally we'll go over to Havana Glen Park in Schuyler County near Montour Falls, south of Watkins Glen, and visit Eagle Cliff Falls. And if we still have some more time, we might even go out on Cayuga Lake, and I got some really nice pictures from out there. So let's start off. We'll go over to Robert Truman State Park. This is the old mill, as it's called. It's built approximately 1839, and it's now a milling museum. You can go in there and see lots of different things about how the mill operated. Most of the equipment that was there when the mill stopped working around 1920 is still there, and there are exhibits all through the mill. The occasion this time, though, last Saturday, was what we call Heritage Day, the Friends of Robert H. Truman State Park, which is a cooperating association with the park. Every fall has Heritage Day, which talks about we have programs about, I'm a member of it, I've been on the board for a number of years. We interpret the mill, we give tours of the mill, the park naturalist gives tours of the gorge, and we also go have sort of an open house for archaeological digs that have been going on there for quite some time. This year, we dedicated a new exhibit and plaque to a gentleman named Neil Poppenseek. Here's the plaque. He was our founder and first president. This is a photo of Neil. And he did a whole lot of research on the park, particularly about the Civilian Conservation Corps and so forth. And this plaque is dedicated to him. Neil passed away a few years ago, and we were very sad. It was a great loss to us all. But we definitely wanted to commemorate his, as it says, his devotion to the history of the Hamlet of Enfield Falls, which was the little agricultural service hamlet, as is known as, that preceded the park in the upper part of Robert Truman State Park, and the work of the men of the CCC Camp SP6 Company 1265. There was a Civilian Conservation Corps camp there back in the 1930s and early 1940s. Contributes to the understanding and appreciation of all who visit Robert H. Truman State Park. So we dedicated that plaque that day to honor Neil Poppenseek, who worked for many, many years for Bosse's in Ithaca and grew up near the park and founded the Friends group and loved the mill and has a wealth of knowledge. He was an amazing local historian. There's also an exhibit, which I've shown some pictures before of, that was updated. The top of this exhibit is pieces that were found by Neil in the Civilian Conservation Corps camp, and I'll have some pictures of the camp in a minute. These are dishes, rather ordinary-looking dishes, but they were in trash heaps, I guess, in the CCC camp, and these were found by Neil. He went all over the site of the CCC camp, which was back behind the mill and up above where the mill dam and pond used to be. So what? Well, big deal. So you got dishes, broken dishes, big deal. Well, it was a big deal. Now this is actually, this exhibit is in a small adjunct building to the mill that has a big standing exhibit about the CCC, and this is one of the panels, and I'll read the caption on it. It says, "Many enrollees arriving at CCC camps were underweight, a consequence of the Depression. Eating 3 square meals a day, the average recruit gained 11 pounds during his first month." So this is not our camp. This is over in Salamanca, New York. but it was pretty much the same story. So these are the dishes that these young men put some pounds on when they were working, and that was probably mostly muscle they put on because they worked very hard. So yeah, so that's a very special day for us. A lot of us found, Neil was a good friend and a leader and a wonderful person, and so it was nice to be able to honor him in this way. But I'll show you a few more pictures of the CCC camp, that exhibit, I should say. Here's the whole exhibit on the room, and then a section of it is actually about the CCC camp. This is part of much of it, except for the two panels on the right, is a traveling exhibit that is now, I guess each region or something of the state parks has this general exhibit about the CCC, and then we had our own individual camp panels added to it. So this is about SB6, which was an Enfield Glen Reservation State Park, as it was known back then. It was renamed Robert Treman State Park after Robert Treman, who was the first commissioner of the Finger Lakes State Parks, and he actually formed this park, led to its formation. After he passed away, I think in 1937, the park was renamed in his name. So if you go back behind the mill and you go along a trail that's been built out there with the help of the Cayuga Trails Club, you will find eventually this other plaque that was put in place a few years ago about the CCC camp. During the Depression, Civilian Conservation Corps camps were established in every state to provide employment for the sons of needy families. On this site, 200 young men lived and worked under the supervision of U.S. Army personnel. They carried out worthwhile and enduring conservation and public works projects. Youth from Camp SP6 worked on improvements at Enfield Glen, which is Robert Treman, Buttermilk Falls, and Teganic Falls State Parks. So it's quite a legacy there. Here's an actual photograph of the camp once it was established. They started off in tents, and then they built these barracks. So this was the camp was initiated in 1933, and they had the barracks up by the next year. So what did they do in the parks? Well, here's one spot that a lot of people are familiar with. This is the diving area in the lower park where the swimming area is, the falls, the lower falls in the lower park, and they are doing the stonemasonry to build up the diving platform and so forth. And one of the panels talks about the many things, the trails and the cabins and what have you, that was built throughout the park by the CCC. And then in 1935 there was a terrible flood that did enormous damage to the park and other parks as well, including Watkins Glen and Teganic Falls. And this is the upper park where the mill is, back just after that flood in July of 1935. And look at how what's now the parking area was ripped out, and bridges were ripped out, and even the bathhouse, I didn't put a picture of that in, but the bathhouse was almost destroyed. So yeah, so a lot going on there. But that wasn't the only thing that we looked at during Heritage Day at Robert Treman State Park, because another big part of it is the archaeology that's been going on at the park. Dr. Shireen Bauer in Department of Landscape Architecture at Cornell has been having her classes come out and do urban archaeology. This isn't really urban, but it's more modern. It's excavating the old hamlet of Enfield Falls. And here is a walking tour of the site. There are actually many buildings, a number of buildings, I should say, and there are little signs up at the various sites where the buildings are. This is one of the two remaining buildings here with the marker that goes with that walking trail brochure, site number 7, Miller's House, built around 1839, the same time as the mill. And in the 19th century, the grist mill owner, Jared Treman, lived here with his family. Private residence, please do not disturb. There's people that live in there, park employees, as a matter of fact. Who was Jared Treman? Well, he was Robert Treman's grandfather, so that's pretty cool. So here's another model of excavation, one of the archaeological digs, and showing you how they dig pits and excavate the foundations. Most of these buildings were torn down or had burned either before or after the park was created. Actually, the park was created in 1920, so some of the buildings were torn down sometime after that. Let's go back to that other model. This is a model of the village. I didn't really get into that, but in the just left of center is a building. That's the mill, and then the other side, the upper right of the model, is a number of elements representing the houses that used to be in the hamlet of Enfield Falls. A lot to say about that. We will another time, but what I want to do now is actually go over to the archaeological dig. So let's get, I'm going to bring up a little video for that, and we'll just see that in a moment. I'll have this slide up for a moment while we get ready for that one. And
Hi, so my name is Ivana. I am a Cornell student, and along with many other Cornell students today, we are all part of a urban archaeology class. And this semester we are excavating a house that used to exist on this property. The owner of the house was Mr. Rumsey, who was the owner of the sawmill that also used to exist at the state park. And this house existed in the 1850s. And so we have managed to find the foundation of the house, which what we believe is a foundation of the house. And the students you see in the back are in the backyard of the house, and they've had a lot of success in finding various artifacts. Here we believe we have found a chimney or potentially the kitchen. We've had a lot of ash and debris, and we found plenty of bones and nails. And my unit that I've been working on, we haven't had any success with many artifacts, but we have managed to find a huge granite boulder. Quite interesting because granite is not native to the upstate New York area. So we believe it could have been brought here intentionally as a decorative piece outside the house. Yeah.
so what'd you find here?
Well, this would be the bottom of a wine bottle or a sherry bottle, not red wine, because this part it'd be curved up more if it was red wine, apparently. That's what the professor was telling us. And then we have actually the rim of another bottle, and the professor says you can tell it's handmade because the edges, they smooth them over like this, the edge, so that's a nice example.
So this is really 19th century stuff we're finding here.
Yeah, that's a good example. These are some of our more delicate things. We found the latch of a box right there, a button, and then a metal pin that even has a tiny little pinhead.
Yeah.
And then lots of pottery and metal flakes and nails.
Right.
We got a nice big peg over there.
Oh yeah.
So those are some of our more interesting things.
Yeah.
This may be a piece of bone or polished wood. We can't tell at this point.
Yeah.
We need to clean it up more. And then I guess the last piece of interest is tiny, but this is probably the maker's mark of the maker of the pottery. That's the white part.
Oh, okay.
So tiny part of it.
Cool.
And that is what we have been finding.
All right. Okay, so it gives you an idea of some of the things that went on last weekend, and the archaeological digs have been going on in the various house foundations since I think about 1998. So they found after 10 years, they actually located what was called the Enfield Falls Hotel, which was a tourist hotel back in the 1800s that is no one's ever been able to find a photograph of, although we know that they were taken because there's records of it. But so if anybody finds a photograph of the old Enfield Falls Hotel, please let the Friends of Robert H. Treman State Park, or let the state park, know about it, because we haven't found one yet, and we'd love to have it. Okay, so now we're going to go over to Buttermilk Falls State Park and look at some fall wildflowers. Now this is a kind of goldenrod. Now a couple of other times ago, I think maybe I showed another goldenrod in the woods. This is goldenrod in the woods? Oh my goodness, yes indeed. There are a couple of species of goldenrods that grow actually in the woods. This one is called blue-stemmed goldenrod. We'll look closer at it. Stem in this particular plant doesn't look that blue, but that is the name of it. And it's blooming this time of year. And you can also go out and find lots of asters in fields and in the woods. And the couple of different ones here, they may be the same species actually. And I'm not sure whether this is white wood aster or Schreiber's aster or something like that. But there are a lot of white wood asters in the woods now. So you might want to check those out. People think that spring is a time for wildflowers in the woods, and it certainly is. But so is fall, and also in your fields. And I'm just waiting with bated breath for the New England asters. We'll get a picture of them when they're really out and showing themselves. So yeah, beautiful wildflowers in the woods. Catch it now. Now we're going to go down to an urban park into the center of the city of Ithaca. Looking straight down in that arrow, there's an aerial shot by my friend Bill Hecht, who likes to fly around in airplanes and take pictures of our local landscape. That arrow points to the center of the city where there is Dewitt Park, which many of you know. This is a picture of Dewitt Park when the Ithaca Farmers Market is there. Now we think of the Ithaca Farmers Market down by the Cayuga Inlet and Steamboat Landing site, and that's true, that's where the big one is. But now the Farmers Market has operating in some other locations in town, including Dewitt Park. And this is some scenes in the park here. And then looking from the back of the farmers market operation, it is there. The farmers market vendors are there on Tuesdays from 9 to 2 and Thursdays from 4 to 7. They will be there for the rest of October. And then that will be that. Then you can go to the the Steamboat Landing on the Cayuga Inlet off of Route 13. They're going to be operating there until, well, let's see, they'll be there Saturdays through October, and let's see, and Sunday, and then, actually, Saturdays through the 22nd of December, but on Sundays only through the 28th of October. So, and there's one other farmer's market that I haven't been to yet, actually, fairly new, up at East Hill Plaza near the Cornell campus, and that operates Wednesdays 4 p.m. to 7 and through Halloween. So now, just taking a look at this plaque. Now, Dewitt Park was named after Simeon Dewitt, who was the founder of Ithaca, and that's a whole story in itself that we'll do someday. But this is another plaque. So this is our second or third plaque we've been looking at today, third one, I think. First white settlers in Ithaca were Revolutionary soldiers Jonathan Woodworth and Robert McDowell in 1788. Cabin sites near this marker. So they were, some of the first settlement in Ithaca was right in the area of the park, actually in the park area, definitely. But, but this past weekend on Saturday the 29th, while the Apple Festival was going on in the Ithaca Commons, there was another festival going on at Dewitt Park. And this was the First Peoples Festival. So this is Native American people, mainly Haudenosaunee or Iroquois people that were there. Well, in this case, they're doing some Iroquois crafts with corn husk dolls. This is Iroquois doll making. And so kids and adults were doing that. You can learn a lot about the Iroquois culture and so forth. The people that were here before most of us, and they also had their vendors along the sidewalk, but they were selling mostly crafts and jewelry and that sort of thing. And they also had some other informational booths. This one is the Two-Row Wampum Renewal Campaign, and that's an interesting little thing in and of itself. But I'm not sure I have much time to talk about that. But let's see, what are we going to do here? Okay, maybe we'll just talk about it for a minute. Two-Row Wampum Campaign. Let's see, I'm going to drop down to a different view of myself right here, and I've got this little brochure here that explains the Two-Row Wampum Campaign. Join us to renew the two-row Wampum Treaty with a statewide education and advocacy campaign in 2013. Neighbors of the Onondaga Nation, which are up near Syracuse, the Onondaga Nation and a growing list of co-sponsors are building this effort to mark the 400th anniversary of the first agreement between the Haudenosaunee, or Iroquois, and Europeans. The two-row treaty outlines a mutual commitment to friendship, peace between peoples, and living in parallel forever. The Haudenosaunee have increasingly emphasized that protecting Mother Earth as a fundamental prerequisite for this continuing relationship. So one of the things that's going to happen next year is traveling side by side down the Hudson River. A focal point of the campaign will be a symbolic enactment of the treaty, with canoes representing the Haudenosaunee and ships representing Europeans sailing side by side down the Hudson River. We will start near Albany, New York, and stop along the route for educational and cultural events and end in New York City with a larger commemoration, probably near the United Nations. The enactment is planned for July 28th to August 10th and will generate considerable media attention. Okay, so that's something to look forward to, and I guess you can go to their website, which is www.honorthetworow.org, honorthetworow.org. But now we're going to go back to the festival and take a look at a video of the Allegheny River Indian Dancers. So we'll get that one up. Let's see. Okay, let's take a second here just to get it up, to being able to see it.
When the earth was first made, it said that a woman fell from the sky and landed on the back of a great turtle. It is said that as she did this dance in the counterclockwise direction, each time she made a complete rotation, it said that the earth, or the turtle, grew a little bit larger each time. It grew into what we now call North America. This is what we call Eskanyek. This is the ladies' shuffle dance.
Okay, so to give you an idea of what was going on, the Allegheny River Indian Dancers, they travel all over the place. Well, we're running down on time here now, and I want to make sure you get a chance to go with me over to Havana, Glen. So we're going to have a quick video over there, and I'll put this up while we bring that video up. Havana, Glen is in Schuyler County, Montour Falls, near the village of Montour Falls. And it's a little municipal park. It's a short walk into Eagle Cliff Falls. Have that in a moment here. Okay, well, that's all we've got time for today. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next week.